This week, we follow two slick-dick 1930s noir detectives into the radioactive mutant wasteland in the far-off future of 2010. We watched 1985's Radioactive Dreams.
Stabby Stabby.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Stabby Stabby. I'm one of your co-hosts, Greg, and I'll be your disco mutant for the evening. And I am drinking a Rebel Hill Brewing Kiwi Vibes. Normally I drink a lot of fruity beers, but it says kiwi. It doesn't have any kiwi. It's Australian hops, so it's a little bit different.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, and hello, Dan. What are you drinking?
I really don't care about what I'm drinking. I want to hear more about kiwi hops. That sounds interesting. I'm drinking a Root Down Brewing Samurai, which has a really cool illustration of a samurai on it, which I'm enjoying. It's nice and light. It's quite tasty. I don't have any catchy names for myself, so I'll just say, hey, Eric. Eric, you there? Hello.
I'm here. Yes, I am drinking a vanilla Coke.
God,
today.
Hell yeah.
Again.
No, you're so disappointed when it's not alcohol. It tastes like medicine. It's not very good. It was the only thing in my fridge that was caffeinated. So
there goes our Coke sponsorship.
I'm going to drink the whole thing. And we have a very special guest today.
Yeah.
Jesse, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jess, and I'm drinking a Brewdog Lightspeed Hazy IPA. It is a low-cal, low-carb IPA. It's awesome. It's very good.
Wow, now you're officially the third host of the podcast because one of us isn't drinking a beer.
Yay! Get out, Eric.
You know, if he's not going to drink alcohol, I like the idea of him drinking a drink that could also be a mediocre review for our podcast. Leave us
vanilla Coke.
Yeah, leave us 3 stars and tell us that we're vanilla Coke.
He's like medicine. But yeah, Jessie is she's joining us from her podcast, Apple to Oranges. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys do over there?
Okay, so we are an Apple TV Plus Originals review show. So basically we just watch, actually right now we're watching everything that is current, and we review those episodes on our podcast. So we started out, I think we have 11 episodes. We started out with Mythic Quest.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
yeah, we had so much fun doing that. Season 2, episode by episode, that we were just like, do you guys want to keep it rolling? And we're like, yeah, sure. And I have 2 co-hosts, Paul and June, which is really strange because that's very similar to How Did This Get Made? So I feel like I have to be Jason, which is very strange, but
You're the Jason of the group. No, that's great. That's good SEO. Let's be honest. That's good SEO.
And I would say you are definitely the Jason of the show.
yeah, I don't know about that, but I'll take it because I love him, so that's fine. But yeah, so that's what we do. Right now we're on, Lisa's story just wrapped up. Schmigadoon just started, so we're going to do that. We're in physical, and next week is Ted Lasso, or not this week. We record tomorrow. The following week is Ted Lasso season 2 premiere, so we're really excited about that. Yeah, it's gonna be a blast. We have so much fun. And then we go over news and stuff like that. If there's trailers that drop for any of those Apple shows, we review those real quick. So pretty much we're the only podcast out there that's doing this for Apple.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, so if anybody watches those series, please come on board. We'd love to have you as a listener. We have a Facebook page and a Twitter, so you can follow us there. And that would be awesome.
You know, I gotta say, I haven't seen Ted Lasso yet, but I actually, on Eric's recommendation, I went and watched all of Mythic Quest, and I was really surprised by that show. There's that one 1F episode with the romance.
Oh yeah, that's
so
great.
Good.
Death, yeah, with Jake Johnson.
Yes, incredible.
Yes. Yeah. Oh God, that was my number one. We did a season 1 recap where we went over our favorite characters and our favorite episodes, and that was my number 1 favorite episode. It was so good.
There's got to be like a Quizzo night question out there where it's like, what's an episode of TV that it's almost so good it makes the rest of the show seem worse in comparison? And that episode would win. It's great. Yeah.
Exactly, because you want to see the rest of the rest of that story. You're like, oh, just give me like a whole show just about that story.
It's a really creative way to set up the stakes for like the drama that is in video game development to people who otherwise, I don't think, like, to people that would like lack the imagination to see anything other than like nerds at a computer. Like, I thought it was a brilliant stroke of storytelling. I dug it. Thank you, Eric, for the recommendation, and I'm absolutely going to seek out your review on it. I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, I'd like to listen to that too.
Yeah, it's amazing. And just so people know, like, it is a show about video games, but it's more like a workplace comedy. So if you don't know anything about video games, you don't need to know that. But anybody who hasn't seen Ted Lasso, get on it.
So good. Yeah.
It was hyped up to me for like months by my co-host Paul, and he just kept getting. And I was like, dude, like I trust your recommendations, and I cannot wait to watch it. But also, like, it's very like heartfelt. So just kind of how like Mythic Quest has those parts where it's like very sentimental and heartfelt. Like Ted Lasso's like that, but on crack.
Heartfelt crack, says Jess.
It's got a lot of British humor. If you like British humor. If you don't follow soccer, no worries. There's like 5 minutes of soccer in the whole season. So it's not like, it doesn't like, hit you over the head with that. So, but it's so good. The characters are so amazing. Like, I can't say anything. You just have to go watch it. Like, you have to see for yourself. Like, once you get to episode, I think we decided on 3. That's when you get hooked and you cannot stop for the rest of the 7 episodes.
It's good to have something that's feel good. And it really is. It was like the perfect thing during the quarantine, Yeah,
well, speaking of feel good, we watched a sweet movie this week. Now, it isn't horror per se, but it is genre. It is weird. It's a mishmash of different cultures, like different decades. And it's got mutants in it, and that's good enough. So
2010 seems like a pretty horrifying time. I think you could call that horror.
Yeah, I can't wait till we get there. Why don't we hop right into this plot?
Yeah,
and get this jive train a rolling.
Is that what we're calling it today? Storm? I love it.
Well. See you later.
Let's get our slick dicks into this plot.
That's better.
Now let's get to the plot.
So, Radioactive Dreams, directed by Albert Pyun, opens up on some screen text telling us kind of about the world's history at that point, where in 1996, nuclear war broke out. All the nukes were fired except for one missile, and that missile needs 2 different keys to be able to fire it, and people of this world really want those keys.
Yeah.
We kind of see some old footage. Old footage is like black and white. Of you got 2 kids and 2 old guys are at like a bomb shelter in a mountain in the desert, I think. And we kind of see a bomb drop in the background, and they all kind of escape to the bunker.
Well, actually, can I pause you right there and say, when you say we see a bomb drop in the background, I think they kind of firmly established that the bomb drops in their front yard directly in front of the child, but there's still enough time that the dad can scoop the kid up and get him into the shelter. Right? Am I wrong on that read?
Well, I mean, as someone who's experienced a nuclear explosion myself, you do have a few minutes to be able to kind of close your doors, get inside, get deep enough into your bunker. Like, you've got... This was factual.
I like the juxtaposition of the falling pine cone with the nuclear explosion. It was very, very student film.
It was artful.
Did one of the kids fall out of the tree too? Or am I imagining that?
Yeah, I think they had that shot. The opening sequence had a lot more of that like mirrored imagery. Yeah, I remember noticing the pine cone thing. I just couldn't help but wonder why the kid wasn't like blinded or deformed. Like he shouldn't have been handsome as an adult. That's all I'm saying.
Well, some would say that he wasn't, but listen. Again, as a handsome man, I can say that.
Greg's got a cold. It's just all claws today.
Yeah.
Wait, can we also talk about in this opening sequence? It's this depressing, like pre-roll, all about how like pretty much the world has gone to shit and everybody's killing each other. But it has the most incredible rocking synth soundtrack ever.
Oh, it's fantastic. The opener is what? It's like I wrote the lyrics down with little notes here. It just says wake me it's a dream, which I can't remember how that's sung. But I know like all the refrains, they just kind of scream the word, so it's like nightmare. As far as I remember.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
And everybody's probably hearing it over as we talk here, but it is a very good song.
Sue Sad. Look her up. SAAD.
Yeah,
great.
She's on Apple Music and probably Spotify.
She's got a set of lungs. Our favorite track, which we'll talk about later, is not on her album, her only album. But the title track for this movie, Radioactive Dreams, is. I think it's like third to last on that album, which I am not embarrassed to say I've been listening to all day. I love that album. I don't know why, but I needed some like synthy glam rock in my day. It was just, man, perfect. The music in this movie is really phenomenal. Like the Star Wars that it's ripping off, the music really makes this movie. Oh man, it makes this movie.
It's ripping off Star Wars?
Hell yeah, this movie's a Star Wars ripoff. Absolutely. Dude, it's an R-rated Star Wars with way more way more that Return of the Jedi like kind of uncomfortable bikini slave vibe, and mostly Katana, like what's it? Is it Katana? No.
Katana?
Cantina. It's mostly Cantina scenes.
Are the disco mutants the Jawas?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
They just say fuck a lot and they're little kids.
Yeah. But what you didn't know is that in Star Wars, the Jawas weren't speaking English, but they were just saying "fuck" the whole time. So
In that accent too. It's just
yeah, Watiti just means fuck. Yeah, all right. So from there, we cut to April 1st, 2010, and we've got two young men in the bunker, and the one comes in is excited that he's broken through.
I broke through.
Gee golly.
And so yeah, they can get out of the bunker now. So they cut their hair and they suit up, and then I guess they're like at like a garage. Like they have a car in there and everything. That's understandable. But the garage door just opened. So like, what were they digging through that they can finally get out?
I don't know, but can I tell you how much I loved those wigs?
Oh, the bit, yeah.
And they, like, just the fact that they were, like, the same exact wigs, so that means their hair grew at the same exact rate, at the same exact time, in the same exact way, and I was totally there for it.
They both rated the set of Samurai Cop for that shitty blonde wig.
Does it?
I will say the opening here, I loved. It's cheesy when it opens. I'm gonna backpedal. This movie's like obsessed with nostalgia. It's got that weird like 30-year nostalgia thing where this was made in the 80s, so it's really obsessed with looking back 30 years to the 50s, to like a time when things made more sense or whatever. And that opening sequence when they're inside the bunker and it's all black and white and kind of grainy, like leads up to that moment where the garage door opens up and suddenly like the world is in color. And I know that's cheesy and it's an effect that did like Wizard of Oz do that first?
Yeah,
I think so.
Well, some listener is probably saying like, well, actually, and shoving their glasses up their nose, but
well, actually, it was Blair Witch.
Yeah. But I loved it. I thought that was a great moment when the thing opens and it's all full color and it's great. It's nice. That's all I wanted to say. I liked it when it was colorful.
No, it was a good transition. Like it really worked for that movie. They've been stuck inside their whole lives. So kind of when they see the outside, we're experiencing that with them.
Were we trying to say, Eric? I feel like I shut you down. I didn't mean to.
Oh, I was gonna say, there's a sequence where he's like dancing to his records, right? He's like boogieing down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's very odd, and then that comes up later, and
Yeah.
very much later. Yeah, I just thought, oh, I know what I was gonna say. So, and we don't have to dissect this now, but and I know we're getting to it. Did the dads or the pops were the pops obsessed with 1940s, 1950s movies and music, and that's all that these kids had access to, and that's why they're the way they are?
Yes, it has to
I
be.
would assume so, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Okay,
Aren't-
all right.
aren't all
Yeah.
old men obsessed with that?
Yeah.
Eric?
Yeah.
Specifically?
Of course.
God damn, he's got his
True.
claws out. No, there's a flashback later in the movie where they show them teaching the boys how to read, and they're using old detective novels, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the before they left the bunker, there's a point where our two characters in the bunker's name are Philip and Marlowe, named after Philip Marlowe, like a fictional 30s detective, and they go totally with that. But Marlowe's looking in the mirror after he cut his hair and got dressed in his kind of his zoot suit kind of thing,
Yeah.
and he's talking to himself. He's like,
Yeah, you're one tough dick. Oh, you're one slick dick.
and he is obsessed with that.
He calls himself a dick like probably 30 times in the movie, like at least.
I think probably fully 1/3 of my notes in the beginning of this movie were asking, do they know that dick is also used this way? Like, I wasn't sure if they knew or if he meant it in the detective sense, but later on in the movie, it clearly becomes like, no, he's a naive boy who doesn't understand what the word dick means. You know, just like Star Wars.
Yeah, all right, so we'll move on. So they drive out of the bunker. The world's in color now, and they quickly come across a woman being chased by rutabaga mutants, is what they call them. But they get scared away by the boys, our two hero boys.
Some big old dicks. Frighten them off.
Yeah, and that'll happen.
I'm just going to make these dick jokes this whole time. I'm so sorry in advance. Please carry on.
The woman's name is Miles Archer, and after she knocks out Philip, Marlowe agrees to drive her to a payphone, because those are still around in 2010.
And still working as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that
still
didn't even
working
register.
We hear a radio broadcast about how criminals are trying to find Miles, and she eventually distracts Marlowe by like making out with him, and she steals his gun. But we found out earlier in the bunker that it's just a gun; it has no bullets. And she I like that she calls him a Mondo nerd, and he's just like, "Yeah, I'm a Mondo nerd." But she accidentally drops some keys, which I would have preferred to have not seen the opening like text to know that like, oh well, these are the keys that everybody's going to need, specifically what they're for and things like that.
Oh, that's a good point. You know, I think I agree with you. That would have been a little bit more interesting if it was a little bit more nuanced what that was all about.
Yeah, because the whole movie, like, people are trying to get the keys, and it really feels like it's supposed to be a mystery on like why they're trying to get these keys, because the guys don't know, but we know. So it's just like, I don't know. It was in my opinion, the one bad choice of this movie.
The only one.
That's it.
While Miles is on the payphone,
Sorry, no. Okay, that's gonna kill me. When I watched this movie, this is probably the 4th time I've seen this movie, and it never clicked with me that it's ridiculous that there's a working payphone in post-apocalyptic 2010. That's so fucking funny. All right, I'm gonna get off that horse. I'm so sorry. That's so funny.
While she's on the phone, she hears these like motorcycles coming, and she ends up running away. And it turns out to be a bunch of like neon red-haired mutant biker chicks that are coming after her. They get into a car chase with the boys. The boys end up like they were pulling like a tractor, kind of like a little truck bed behind them with their gas supply, and that ended up they had to ditch it because it was on fire. But they do get away from the mutant bikers. We do get a pretty sweet butt in this in this chase, so that's fun. Like they're jumping on the car and everything, and at one point no one's driving, but the car is still going fast through the desert.
Doesn't Marlowe use some like dance moves to like evade some punches and some kicks when they're fighting?
Yeah. At one point he like hops, like he like runs up the front of like the truck bed and like flips over the one girl. He's quite a dance fighter, I would say.
Yeah. They also established that the other guy is really into magic. That comes in later too.
Yeah.
Wait, when did they establish the magic part in the scene? I didn't catch that.
It was in the bunker.
It was a little earlier in the bunker. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
rewinding a bit. Yeah.
I would say there's a lot of things that I didn't write down in this movie because
It's
a lot
dense.
happens that doesn't really need to be talked about.
No, yeah, the dancing and the magic comes in to the end of the movie. So
Yeah. Thank you.
Got
Thank you.
I will
so
say.
they
Oh.
Nope, go on.
I will say that in my notes at this point, I wasn't really sure. Like dick jokes aside, I wasn't really sure if they were dick jokes at this point. I was trying to figure out like, is this supposed to be a kids movie? Like trying to think through, do they want children to engage with this? Because the action's pretty fun, but it's definitely not like intense violence. And it's about halfway through this scene that like he and one of these like redheaded riders are fighting in this trailer, and he just like rips her pants, and you just see her butt. And that was when I registered, like, either this is not meant to be a kid's film, or this is somebody's very strange take on a children's film. Then the next scene definitely sealed the deal that it was not a children's film.
So they do end up getting away from the mutant biker chicks, and they find the keys that Miles dropped in the car, and the case has a name on it that says Dash Hammer, which is a great fucking name.
That's a good porn name.
The best name.
And we learned that Dash Hammer was one of their pops, one of their dads from the bunker. Or at least we're never really sure if it is their dad, like their actual dads or not. That never becomes clear in this movie. Kind of an interesting little subplot that never pays off. But
Yeah, like, and they don't know. But, like, shouldn't they know? Like,
I mean, they were pretty young, right?
but they're old enough that they should know if they're their real dads. Like, but it doesn't seem like in the movie that they ever know. Like, it's very strange.
I don't think that because Philip through the whole time says like stop calling them our pops, like they're not our fathers, and Marlowe truly believes that they are. But Marlowe definitely is played off as more naive.
Totally.
Of the
Simple-minded,
two.
you could
Yes.
say.
100%.
So they find the keys. It's Dash Hammer's keys. And they start driving off again, and they come across two little kids on the side of the road, who basically are like, "Can you help us? Like, my dad lost his legs in the war. He's in the truck. Our car's out of gas or whatever." And it turns out that they are the disco mutants, and they're wearing little white like disco suits, like very like Saturday Night Fever kind of John Travolta look to them.
They're like tiny Travoltas.
Mini me Elvis.
Yeah, they pretty much, and they love the word fuck.
It's hilarious.
So-
I love that so much.
I think every scene they're in, they drop the F-bomb a couple times. It's pretty fucking great.
Out of the vehicle! Fuck face before I fucking blow your fucking brains all over the fucking car!
Yeah, nothing's funnier to me than little kids cursing. I love it.
Yeah, and they had like a ball cursing. Like they really got into it. They're like, fuck! Like it wasn't just like fuck. It was like fuck. Like
When
every
they weren't
time.
on set, their parents would spank them for it. But when they were in costume, they got away with it. Yeah, that was the moment where I was still wondering, like, was this supposed to be a kid's movie? And then they start dropping the F-bomb, and it's little kids doing it. And I was like, no. This is my kind of film. I'm at home.
So Philip and Marlowe eventually kind of quickly disarm the little kids who run away crying. And the girl that they had as a hostage, we learn is Rusty Mars, and she plays a big part in this movie. But in the meantime, their car kind of got shot up by the disco mutants. So it's pretty much dead. So they have to walk to Edge City, which is like the big local city of that area. I don't know if it's like one of the last remaining cities. It seemed like there was a couple different districts in the city that we learned about. But Rusty decides to take them there. She does tell them that they should stay away from Miles Archer, because she's bad news. And while they kind of just have like simple conversation as well. Like Rusty has some like old family photos, and she asks like Philip if he has any pictures, and kind of takes his wallet from him to see if he has any family pictures, and she ends up seeing that he has the two keys, the two very important keys. But she does say that she can help them find their dads, find Dash Hammer and the other one. I don't know his name.
Spade Chandler. Yeah, Spade Chandler and Dash Hammer.
Chandler.
Both of them have like marksman tools incorporated.
They're best friends with Flash Gordon and Beastmaster.
I prefer to go by Flathead. You know, and I'm looking at the IMDb page right now, and the two main characters' last names do match those two old man names. So if we were to go by like script writing terminology, then that would mean that they are indeed biological offspring.
Oh, okay.
One of those old guys is George Kennedy. He's in Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah.
And he's in the Naked Gun movies, but he's the guy in Cool Hand Luke that's like, my boy says he can eat 50 eggs, he can eat 50 eggs. He's been in like 200 movies. He's great.
Yeah, I think he's in The Uninvited too, right? With the
the
mutant cat inside the cat.
Yeah.
Well, he's in this movie for 1 minute.
He's about that. So they end up getting to Edge City, and it's to me it was like a mishmash of like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s culture. They kind of, you see a lot of like they come across a couple people that Rusty calls them greasers. We see a lot of like 70s hippies and like 80s punks and things like that. So it's people have I guess kind of sanctioned themselves or like sectioned themselves into like these little groups, like everybody's in a little clique or a gang or something.
Totally. It was super Blade Runner kind of feel. You know what I mean? It's especially a lot of the like party and bar interiors. When you look around, like I think I texted you guys when I was watching this that it might be the like post-apocalyptic future, but there's no shortage of like makeup and hair gel. Everybody is like definitely peacocking their given tribes.
So much makeup, and it's what, but it's all like one, like 3 colors. It's like black, white, and like red, and that's it. No other colors for makeup.
I do have this vibe. I've seen this movie enough times now that every time I watch it, I feel like I'm watching a movie that like my dad helped write. Like it has a super like boomer sensibility to it. And I love the idea that they want a universe where you can just look at somebody and know whether or not you're on their side. Like it's just purely optics. That's all it is. It's delightful. I mean, it's horrible, but it's wonderful. This movie makes it work.
What's her name? Rusty takes them kind of further into the city where they come across like they kind of go into like a club area, which really felt to me like it's like that in the Matrix where everybody's like partying and banging, like that
I think
kind
they
of
called it the Red Onion
kind of vibe.
It's really? Like the blue. It's like the Blue Oyster.
That's
in
awesome.
The Matrix?
No, in this movie, the bar it said Red Onion. Yeah.
Wouldn't you guys drink at the Red Onion? That's such a rad bar name.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna have an orgy, I'm going to the Red Onion. So while they're there, Rusty kind of goes away to talk to somebody, and Marlowe gets picked up by 2 girls, and he ends up going with them. Rusty comes back and takes Philip to another room, ends up seducing him, starts stripping him, and then straps him down to a table. And she's kind of about to tell him what's going on when a bunch of like mutant goons come walking in, and it turns out like she's handing him over to them because he has the nuke keys, and the goons are talking about killing him. Like the one just kind of like bites into his stomach, and not like not like to like break skin or anything, but he's like, ooh, this meat's not radiated. Like this will sell really good. And it turns out that everybody's a cannibal apparently.
I mean, I hear people taste
in
like
this
pork.
world.
I'm not gonna yuck anybody's yum, you know.
Hey, if you gotta eat people, you might as well. You might as well get the good meat.
A little lao gan ma, a little high heat at first, let it slow simmer. I bet it's pretty tasty.
He was calling him Porky the whole time. So.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense.
Kept calling him a pig.
That's so great. But did anybody else think that this like seduction scene was like kind of insanely explicit for a scene that had no nudity in it?
Are you saying you got turned on, Dan?
I mean, we're all just.
I didn't say that. Ooh,
we're just a bunch of slick dicks, watching this movie, and I'm just saying, like, there's like a prolonged shot where you think she's like gonna go down on him, and there's like she's slowly undressing him, and he like sees. Actually, it's a little bit of like foreshadowing where he sees, or storytelling foreplay, where he sees like a wedding dress hanging in the closet, and he's like, "Oh, I like this dress," and she said, "Maybe I'll put it on for you later," and she totally does later on.
Yeah.
But it's like hyper intimate, hyper like explicit, but like there's no boobies or nothing. It's just I don't know. I was really it's like a hardcore swing into the R rating for sure, which is great. I'm not complaining. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think the guy that plays Philip, like, I mean, it was a really long scene, like it was so long, but the guy that plays Philip, like, I think he did a really nice job of like getting that across, like that innocence thing, because like obviously he's been in the bunker his whole life, so he's just like like, but it wasn't like how in some of the movie, like you've got like people who are like overacting or underacting, but in this scene he did a really good job of just being like are you gonna kiss me first before you go down on me?
My lips are up here, ma'am. That is like a line, right? Are you gonna kiss me first? Isn't that a line that he says? Yeah, when she's like unbuttoning his pants with her teeth. It's great.
Well, and as like the mutants come out, like he kind of like gets scared, and he's like, my intentions were honorable. Like, he's a good boy. He's a good
Philip
boy.
was like the much more reserved, smart, like suave kind of debonair guy, and then the other guy, Marlowe, was like Jar Jar Binks drunk, like all the time.
Turned up to 11. That guy, like everything was so high pitched. I was like, whoa.
I will say his squealing did make me laugh. I thought it was pretty funny sometimes.
It's similar to Blood Diner, where you had kind of the straight guy and then the like off kilter guy.
That's good. Yeah.
All right. So the mutants are looking to get the keys. And Philip gets them somehow gets them to unstrap him to give them the keys, and he does a little magic trick to show like, oh, they were in your ears the whole time, and I guess that like distracts them enough, and he ends up kind of like hitting a bunch of them and running away. Rusty actually helps him by turning off the lights, and Philip's able to escape. So he's kind of now running through the city. He finds Marlowe in what I assume is a hooker's like house.
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right.
And then a greaser finds them and gets them to follow him, and he tells them that Miles Archer hired him to help. He doesn't want the keys. He just, he doesn't have a car. What does he need keys for? So he ends up kind of telling him like, follow me. I'll get you to Miles. But like 30 seconds later, he's trying to kill them to get the keys. So it's just like, why lie in the first place?
What kind of greaser doesn't have a car? Isn't that the whole point of like the grease movies? Is like the race cars?
Well, and we'll get into the cars in this movie as well in a bit, because they remind me of a very specific car.
Which one's that?
The ones that look like the Flintstone mobile.
Yeah, that's right. They're clearly like golf carts from whatever studio lot they're shooting on. Yeah.
So as the greaser's trying to get the keys from them, the head mutant goon kind of hears them through the door, tries to get in, ends up shooting through the door, but kills the greaser. So Marlowe and Philip are able to kind of escape from there. And then they're kind of running through the city.
Here it comes.
Philip and Marlowe get separated. Marlowe escapes through the sewer, and Philip gets caught by the disco mutant kids. But Marlowe gets knocked out of the sewer by a giant mutant rat.
How would you guys describe this rat?
I would describe it as a giant mutant rat.
I thought it kind of looked like a dog too, like a dog and a rat.
Oh, all right.
In my notes, I wrote Fluffy from Harry Potter, except with one head, not three.
Oh yeah, yep.
Oh yeah. It'd be like yes, if it was one of the heads from that multi-headed dog in Harry Potter, and the like Sarlacc pit, right? That's kind of the vibe with this thing.
It was so cool looking. I like I've watched a lot of like kaiju movies, and like that like rat dog thing was awesome. Like it was so cool looking.
I mean, it's a massive puppet. Like it must have taken so much effort and skill to build that thing. It was really cool.
Say what you will about like the kind of over the top writing and characters and like the whole scenario. This movie's like kind of insane. But one thing you can't say about this movie is that it's not shot well. Like this is a well shot movie, and the way they work the puppet into the scenery, and it's lit really well. It felt natural. Like I really like the visuals in this movie a lot. I think it really holds up over time. And I was actually, Mahalia and I, when we were watching this together, we were kind of going back and forth about like, because we were watching it in a very like VHS kind of rip. It was pretty low res, kind of fuzzy, which adds a certain charm to movies like this. But I genuinely would love to see an uncut like Blu-ray release of this movie. Does that exist, Greg?
No, it doesn't.
Man, I would love Vinegar Syndrome. Hear my cries. I plead with you.
I believe it made it off VHS for one release in like a German DVD, but that's it.
You know, the music is so integral to it. I wonder if there's like a rights issue with the music in this film.
Now, the first time Eric, Dan, and I saw this, we saw it at a movie marathon with a 35mm print.
Yeah, in Philadelphia. That's right.
Yeah. So, like, we had a good experience seeing it for the first time, so we tracked down a VHS rip of it because needed to own it, you know?
Spoiler alert, we're going to stab this movie a lot later on.
Yeah, the VHS rip is, it's a little muddy. You know, it's kind of hard to make out like what's happening at certain times, you know. But yeah, this really needs a restoration.
Seriously. You know, and there's it ages. The visuals are crazy muddy. It's really like there are whole sequences that are just pitch black in that VHS rip that are really hard to make out. I remember 35mm being able to make out details a little bit better. But I think something that's working in its advantage is it's definitely, you guys picking up on that like 50s noir vibe that kind of goes through the whole thing with the grizzled detective, what's his name? Philip has that. Yeah, he's got that like detective voiceover where he does that like Blade Runner kind of, we tracked them down and I didn't realize that. Like he kind of speaks in poetic metaphor over the top of the movie. And so many of the scenes are like dark in a dark city lit by neon with rain. It just, oh man, when it hits, it's nice. I like it.
Yeah, and that's one thing I didn't mention earlier is that at the beginning, Philip kind of introduces this story where he's like, hey, this is the story of the first day of us out of the bunker. And, you know, it's our yarn or whatever he says.
Yeah.
So he kind of breaks in with voiceover throughout. It's not too overdone. That to the point that I forgot that it was at the beginning. So
truth.
All right. So Marlowe is being attacked by the giant rat. I think like it kind of hides away because a bunch of some people in like scary masks and scary voices and like a bandaged up face come and like try to like mug him for the keys, but then the rat comes back. And they fight the rat, and Marlowe is able to run away, and he sees Philip in kind of the back of the Flintstone golf cart with the disco mutant kids, and Marlowe runs after him, and then we see this is a very Scooby-Doo scene because you see like Philip and the Flintstones car drive past down an alley, like it's a shot down an alley Marlowe runs after him, and then like 3 seconds later, you see like Rusty and two of the goons kind of run into frame in that alley, and then stop, and then like run back. Like they continue running. So it's just like you see all the characters just running through that one shot. And then we got Marlowe makes his way to a warehouse where Philip is being held. We hear the disco mutants talking to two lizard men who are looking for the keys. They hired the disco mutants to get the keys, but they couldn't find them.
Well,
You won't tell us nothing.
but what about the keys? Ray, you did get them, didn't you?
No, he doesn't have them. We searched the fucker inside out.
You little fool. You said you had.
I know, I screwed up. Big deal.
You don't seem to understand, Chester. This is not just another disco drug deal. The world is at stake.
Marlowe
here.
helps Philip escape, like he unties him, and they grab some packages from the warehouse before they are kind of seen, and they're shot at, and they kind of run away.
Some really convenient packages. Yeah.
Yeah, but I believe they hear the lizard man mention that Miles wants the keys to blow up the world. And as they're kind of escaping, Miles sees Philip and Marlowe and calls to them because they don't know that she's bad, or they don't really. They're a little naive with Miles, but they end up going with her, and they end up going to like her house, and Rusty sees them leaving with her, and she doesn't seem very happy about it. Rusty may be developing some of them old feelings for Philip.
I think Miles is definitely that like film noir, like femme fatale character who like by her wily ways can get in with the protagonists. And then the Rusty character is totally that like, you know, sex worker on the fringe who has a heart of gold, but is coming from a difficult place, who just wants somebody to believe in her. I really like the character dynamic of Rusty. I enjoyed her, even though it didn't make a lot of sense that she just met these like naive like virgin dicks in the desert and is immediately attached to them for some reason. Like that didn't make a lot of sense, but I liked it. They're all like, they all feel like people, which is nice.
I see Miles as kind of the like rich woman who comes to the detective that says like, oh, I need to hire you to find out who killed my husband. And, you know, in the end, it turns out it was her, but she just needed the detective to, like, frame somebody else, basically.
I mean, it kind of was her, right? She had the keys at the beginning of the movie. So she has if there was a murder weapon in this movie, she had them from the start.
Yeah. All right. So as they're kind of running through the city to get to Miles's house, we see more shots of the city, and we get to hear Sue Sad singing "Guilty Pleasure."
Time for a music video break.
Yeah, they get their money's worth with that song.
Wait, Jess, this was your first time seeing this movie, right?
Yes.
What did you think about this sequence? Just before we describe it.
Oh, I absolutely adored this. Like, cause I mean, you hear the soundtrack like for the, you know, the whole movie, and I guess this is like right like smack in the middle, and so, you know, when she pops up, like when they pop in, I guess, I don't know, when they pop in and like that song starts, and I was like, oh, this is a banger, like what is this song, like this is amazing. And like, I mean, with that voice, dude, like, you know, it's the title song, like it's the same, you know, singer, and then like you see her and you're like, oh shit, like they're actually doing it, like they're putting, like the whole time I'm like watching it, I'm like, oh, they're really like putting a music video like in the middle of this movie, like this is awesome. So I was totally down for it. I loved it.
Isn't
Loved
there
every
a scene
second
where,
of
like,
it.
one of our protagonists is climbing through the roof and he like steps on the drum kit of the band as they're performing the song?
He steps on a cymbal, I think.
Yeah. I love how the lead singer immediately breaks the fourth wall and just starts singing to you, like making it like uncomfortable eye contact with the viewer. It's great.
Yeah. It's funny because as the song starts, the band is on like a like fire escape to like the back right of the frame, And right as she starts singing, she just like slides right in front of the camera, just dead center in the frame.
It's exactly the
it's
kind
so
of thing
good.
that would be like cringy enough to crack every tooth out of your mouth if it wasn't like Jess said, if it wasn't a fucking banger, if it wasn't infectious into my DNA, I would hate it. But it just works so good. Oh, it's so good.
She's got like this S&M like a leather outfit, but on top of it, it's just bows, like all gold bows. Her whole outfit is giant bows. She's just sort of writhing on the floor with smoke and lightning around her. It's awesome.
She's punk, but she wants to stay
Yeah,
pretty.
I understand it.
Super
it's perfect.
Major
she's
Madonna
glam.
vibes.
Oh, it's
like
glam.
super material
I'm
girl
sorry.
vibes. 100%. Maybe a little bit of like Bjork, that
So good.
flesh knitted like wedding dress thing too, a little bit with like the big flourishes on the shoulders or whatever. Oh, it's so good. You know what? If you're listening to this, go to YouTube and just look up this song. Maybe you can find this scene on YouTube someplace. Just I don't usually tell you to pause the podcast. Go watch this. It's better than this podcast. This scene is so good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I already sent it to my co-host Paul. I was like, you have to listen to these two songs. And I'm pretty sure the YouTube clip I sent him had that actual like scene in it.
It stays with you too. Even after we saw it in the theater years and years ago, we reference this movie all the time by singing this track.
Guilty pleasures.
It hasn't died down since we saw it in the theater.
Yeah. And the whole like I said, the whole song plays.
Oh yeah.
Kind of start to finish, and we get more story beats in here. They're at Miles's house. Philip kind of sees. Well, she goes, "Ooh, I will go change into something more comfortable," and that she just leaves them in her like living room to snoop around, and Philip finds that she has like instructions for how to use the keys to set off the bomb. So now he's like, oh, like she wants to blow up the world, and she comes out, and she changed into this like. I don't know how to describe it. To me, it looked very like Stallone's Judge Dredd kind of costume.
Yes,
but like red leather and with like lights on the shoulders.
It's like that. It's like Judge Dredd, but like mixed with Thriller and light.
Yeah,
like Christmas lights.
Yeah, yeah. It's the most futuristic, quote unquote, outfit of the movie, I think, but. So she threatens to kill them to get the keys, and I think she's got like a couple other people with her now, like part of her goon squad. But Rusty pops into the window, and they see her and start shooting at her, which distracts apparently everyone that has a gun in the room. And Philip and Marlowe are able to escape again. They have, I think this is like the 7th time they've escaped from being killed because they're just slick dicks. And then we got a rooftop chase, which I think is where he steps on one of the symbols. And one of Miles's goons is chasing after him. We get to a point where, like, I think they escape from them, and they kind of hatch a plan. Philip has a monologue where he's like, no, he's talking about basically how the world is completely messed up now. Everybody's full of hatred and jaded, and and it's changing who they are as people. They've been out of the bunker for 12 hours at this point, and they're completely changed. Yeah.
Oh.
But he and Marlowe vow to not let anybody get the keys.
Like Philip Marlowe, we now saw the world for what it was, cold and bitter. The sad thing was, me and Marlowe had become infected by the disease. We was angry and vengeful, and all we wanted to do was to get back at the world, to make them all pay for what they'd done to us. See, we'd slipped over the edge into the dark side, where the rusty Mars and the Miles arches of this world wallowed. We wasn't kids no more. And oh, would the world be sorry.
Also in the beginning, when just before they leave the shelter in the car, one of them's like don't ever change or something. So that's kind of a callback to
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that.
Chef's kiss of screenwriting here.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That wasn't sarcasm.
Oh, okay. I can't tell with you,
It
Greg.
might have sounded
I can't
like
tell
it.
with you.
Yeah, I know.
Wait,
so
can
now the
I
boys
just add just as salt on top of this meat that you're feeding us? The entire time this sequence is happening, this whole chase scene, it's a straight up like what's that movie that Tim Burton directed, the children's movie? It's like Blade Runner via Pee Wee Herman post-apocalyptic action chase sequence that is really like a music video for an 80s glam rock like fucking jam. I think this movie is like 90 minutes, but it feels like it's 15 minutes long because 30% of the movie is essentially just a sequence of music videos, and this is the best part of it. It's so good. It just keeps the tempo rolling.
And it's funny because they keep cutting back to Sue Sad, like singing. Just like throughout, like every like 20 seconds, they'll make sure that she's on screen. So I had never heard of her before this movie.
I will never forget her.
I'm glad I have now. Yeah. So now the boys are kind of on a mission. They suit up literally because the packages that they stole from the warehouse have like these really nice suits that fit them perfectly. Mm-hmm. And they kind of vow to take down all the bad people in the town. And while that's happening, the disco mutant kids have found Rusty on one of the rooftops or alleyways. It was really hard to tell. And they're about to kill her, but somehow their guns are shot away out of their hands with one bullet.
Don't they both say like "fuck" because they're little kids and they say "fuck" a lot?
And they just like look at their hands, like shaking their hands, like they're like in pain. But it gets shot away by our two slick dick boys, and they come walking like out of this like I don't even like this mist that's just lit so well, and you kind of see their like detective silhouettes walk through, and it looked badass. Like it looked really good. That was my favorite shot of the movie.
Yeah,
I guess I'll be excited for that.
No, I was excited. Yeah, they're in trench coats. Yeah, they're tough all of a sudden.
Yeah. They're living the dream of being those old school detectives.
Is it at this point Rusty's in that wedding dress, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jess.
I was just going to ask if this was before or after they suited up.
This was after.
Okay, because I was going to say they're like a lot of the time they're like in their undies, just like running around.
Yeah.
And
I mean, after they're both like forced into sexual bondage, then they're in their underwear for a good 30 minutes of the movie.
And like the dirtiest, fucking grossest underwear of all time. But yeah, and then they suit up. So I was just wondering if this was after they had already suited up.
Yeah, they're suited up, but I would assume they still have that dirty underwear on.
Yeah, they got their those bunker undies never going away. They're like fused into their skin at this point.
The hair's like grown through them, like that guy that lives in Alaska.
Yeah, and
no, there's a couple of shots on this rooftop where Rusty, she's wearing that wedding dress, and like the same way that they have that hero shot through the mist, they have a couple shots of Rusty. She's in a wedding dress, and she recovers one of the like submachine guns that the disco punk, the little kids had, and there's so many shots of her in the rain, like kind of silhouetted in blue, standing against like a moon. And man, something about that like wedding dress, submachine gun, post-apocalyptic, glam rock. Oh man, I love the sequence. It's so good. I'm just gonna keep talking about how much I love this whole thing. All right.
So
sorry,
this is where we learned what Dan's main kink is. So that's
commitment and violence.
That's interesting. So we've got Rusty in that dress, and she's apologizing to Philip. You can see that she's digging Philip a bit, but he's not having it. He basically tells her that like, he's trying to just make her go away.
I'm sorry about the meat locker, and I'm sorry about all the lies I told you.
Save it, baby. That was a million years ago, and I got a short memory. In fact, I don't even remember who you are.
Whoa. Okay. All right. Slick Dick.
Yeah. So they've hatched a plan, and their plan is to basically get all the bad guys in the city into one warehouse to hopefully kill each other without them getting killed themselves.
Yeah,
like that's their plan. Yeah.
That's how that works. Yeah.
Yeah, we're the bait, they say.
Yeah, they're the bait. So they do walk through the city, and everybody's on the lookout for them. So they get to the warehouse, and they immediately find Miles, who they kind of get the jump on. And you think, ooh, they got her now, but she's got goons of her own like she had earlier, who end up coming up behind Philip and Marlowe, kind of grabbing them. They're about to kill them, and the disco mutants come in. The lizard men gang all arrive, and it's kind of like a standoff for the keys. The lizard men, yeah.
Oh, so I was gonna say we get another pretty awesome song during this sequence. It's something like, "She's a fire, raging out of control." It's pretty fantastic.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, and I forgot to mention earlier, like, when we learn about how everybody's cannibals, there's a song playing that's, like, all about, like, we're gonna eat you alive.
Oh, yeah. It's very on the nose.
Like, yeah. But it's a good song, too.
I want the soundtrack for this movie so bad. I can't find it anywhere. Can't find it anywhere. Hey, if you're a listener, wherever you're listening to this podcast, leave us 5 stars, and 5 stars, all 5, please, thank you. And tell us where we can find the soundtrack for this movie. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and just comment that we're your guilty pleasure. I don't know how to spell all like that,
All spelled out.
How to sing it, but
and sign off as Slick Dick fan.
You could be a slick dick, you could be a tough dick, you could be a big dick. We don't care.
Oh, I mean, clearly we have a prerequisite that you must be a dick.
Yeah, we'll call our Stabby Stabby fans. Oh, it's all of our slick dicks. You're all slick dicks out there.
We can
all
do
right.
better.
Well, we'll workshop it more.
I just heard Eric just.
Sounds good to me.
Done and done. More vanilla Coke, please.
Another round.
So So as
Jess,
all the
Jess,
gangs,
you picked a weird episode to guest on. I'm so sorry.
No, I love it. It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. All right. Yeah, sorry, Greg. Carry on.
All right. So as all the gangs arrive, the lizard men are asking for the keys, and Miles kind of says, like, jokingly, she's like, "Oh, you better watch out. You got Philip and Marlowe here. They'll they're dangerous guys." And the lizard men are both like, "Oh, like, we know them. Like, we knew them from a long time ago." And they take off their lizard masks and their lizard teeth, it's Dash Hammer and Spade
Chandler.
A
shovel.
The old
friend
men
star.
from the bunker. Yeah. And we kind of get also, like, we get another flashback of them as kids. We kind of get a few flashbacks throughout the movie. And this one specifically shows, like, when they left the bunker and left the kids. They left the kids when they were, like, 6 to just, like, live by themselves in a bunker. Good for those kids surviving.
Yeah, they just think they were just going to die, or they're just like, here's a bunch of food. You'll figure it out.
I have no idea. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Learn what women are, I guess. Yeah. I guess these kids learned through, like... These kids, they implied that they learn everything they know from 50s detective novels, which is why they both, like, live as though they're 50s detectives. But then the whole movie's plot relies on them falling for every honeypot scenario imaginable. Like, just repeatedly, it's honeypot after honeypot, and they don't see it coming. I feel like if I could inoculate myself from one scheme from reading 50s noir books, it would be honeypots. But, whatever. I don't mind. I like this movie.
Well,
I'll take it.
The world is made of honeypots. So the boys end up throwing the keys kind of between them and their dad. But out of nowhere, the giant monster rat and or dog attacks.
Yeah.
And ends up eating the disco mutant kids. And just a firefight starts up. Like, everybody's just shooting at each other. Philip and Marlowe get to safety. Their dads end up getting shot. I think one kind of dies pretty quickly. George Kennedy, Dash Hammer, dies pretty quickly. Along with like most of the other bad guys. There's like a zipline scene where they like kick a couple guys. A wall falls down. Basically, it ends up with like it's Philip and Marlowe, and Miles still alive. And Miles has the keys. She turns to shoot at Philip and Marlowe, but Marlowe has like a machine gun and just like guns her down. And that's the first time, like, I think this is the first time they legitimately killed somebody in this. But they end up getting the keys back, and they head out of the warehouse. And as they head through the city, they do basically what anyone would do after like a big, massive, just multiple fatality gunfight / sewer monster.
Find their fathers and watch them die.
Greg?
Yeah. They go ahead and they just like swing dance through the town.
Lots of finger wagging in that dance
Lots of
sequence.
finger, yeah.
Spinning.
And it is. I went back and just listened to that song that they danced to. I don't know, like 40 times. I love that song.
That song is so good. That dance is amazing. And like the wipes that they do, like where they just like freeze and then there's a wipe and it's just like goes to the and it's like, really? Like, was that necessary?
It's necessary if the actors didn't want to learn choreography. So like, all right, do this, we'll cut. Do that, we'll cut.
Yeah, it's a couple moves at once. Yeah,
that's true. But like in the time of the movie, it's like, okay, like how this like sequence must have been so long if they're pausing and wiping. Like it must have been like 30 minutes of them swing dancing.
The crowd just starts to leave around them. They're like, okay, guys.
they just boo them.
That's enough.
They don't establish. There's no shot of the singer of this song actually in the scene, unlike Guilty Pleasures. So actually, there's no music, and it's just these two guys in detective costumes just waggling their fingers at the crowd, just to complete silence.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like a crowd that's gonna want to listen to Zim Bim Zowie. So
is that the name of the song?
No, I think it's got a different name, but it's like Zim Bim Zowie.
The lyrics are like, "It's a new beginning. The fighting's over. Let's celebrate the ending."
The whole song is about a nuclear, like after a nuclear war.
It's ridiculous,
and it's so
the
fucking
Ewok
happy.
sequence at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Yeah,
they just translated Yup Nub to Zim Bim
Zim Bim Zowie.
That is the name of the song.
I do want to mention.
Is it really?
Yeah, according to this Discogs.com, the last song in the soundtrack is that by Daryl. Ooh, that's a hard Finnessy. That's a really weird name.
Get it?
Yeah, but that's the name. Zim Bim Zowie.
Zim Bim Zowie.
If you're interested, you can look it up yourself because we can't pronounce it.
We have a lot of songs intercut in this episode for sure.
Yeah. There's gonna be no background music because it's all just gonna be. I will just play the movie in the background.
Just the best 80s synth. I will say that I am not the biggest fan of movies that end with like dance sequences. And as great as this song, is, man, Sue Sad is where it's at. She's so good. Nothing can top her songs. They're so good.
She comes back in the credits.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Totally. So like this is just kind of like the end of the movie. So we got just one little thing before we kind of put a bow on this nuclear clusterfuck.
Before we tie these two dicks in a bow. Yeah.
There you go. So we got Philip doing a final voiceover, and he's telling us that.
So that was our first day out in the post-nuke world. Me and Marlowe agreed to go into business after taking a little time off. He went off looking for a prettier dancing partner, and I went off looking for Rusty. I figured maybe there was a chance for us. Oh, and about those keys. Well, don't worry, I stashed them in a safe place that only me and Marlowe knew about. Yeah, we could have destroyed him, but, well, we figured you never know. A tight jam, a nuclear missile just might come in handy.
And so that is where we kind of go to credits. We get some more Sue Sad, and that was Radioactive Dreams.
Hey, yo, well done, Greg.
Well, that was a mess of a plot summary, but I did my best. It's a lot of running through a city.
Lots of keys.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of fun things in the movie. It's they have some good set pieces and things, but yeah.
It really is. It's the, like, Mad Max beginning leads to one long continuous cantina sequence from Star Wars, and then it finishes with the, like, Blade Runner shootout and chase sequence. And all of it is gloriously 80s and synthy.
Yeah, the last 10 minutes are basically in slow motion. That's
yeah.
I can't end this or leave here without mentioning, Greg, that when that rat dog eats the disco kid, the last sequence, the disco kid's like, "You fucking piece of shit!" Like, he gets out like one last, I was cracking up.
Man, I wish this movie made it huge and they made like Woody from Toy Story dolls, but it's those little kids and you pull the string and they just drop F-bombs. I want that so bad.
Oh, that would be amazing.
We should get to reviews, but I will say there is a sequel to this movie, and we did watch it together.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Vicious Lips.
A sort of Vicious Lips? Was that what it was called? See, I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's called Vicious Lips, yeah.
Hey, Greg, was it as memorable as Radioactive Dreams?
No, not at all. And
Okay.
basically the only connection to Radioactive Dreams is... So this takes place in a world where people go from planet to planet for concerts. Like, you follow this band called Vicious Lips, and they're spaceships and shit. Like, this has none of that. But they do go... They're going... Either they start at or they're going to a club to play... That's called Radioactive Dreams.
Aww.
That's it. As far as I can remember, that's the only connection.
Same director, though, right? I think it's the same director.
Yeah, it's Albert Pyun, yeah.
It's like a spiritual sequel, I guess.
Yeah,
but without Sue Sad.
It still has that...
You don't have anything.
No,
she's in it, yeah.
I don't think she was in it. I think I would have remembered her.
But yeah, it's not good, but it has that same kind of aesthetic. You know, that, like... 80s glam aesthetic, yeah.
Okay.
Well, you've guided us through a lot of hairy situations there, Greg, and I think now maybe it's time to talk about how we. I think now it's time we talk about these reviews. Sorry, I just realized. I realized how high my voice was. Guilty pleasures. All right, let's stab this movie to death.
Time for the ratings.
All right, well, here on Stabby Stabby, we rate our movies from 0 to 10 stabs. 10 being I loved it, 0 being this wasn't even a movie that you made me watch. And as you know, as we say every week, we do stab with love and affection here. So let's throw it to Jess. Jess, how many times are you gonna stab Radioactive Dreams?
Whew. Oh man. So normally with a movie like this, I would probably rate it an 8, but man, that soundtrack kills. Like, it elevates everything that you're watching. So I'm just gonna do 10 out of 10. Like, man, I loved it. Nice. I loved it. And like, I loved it. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, it's so ridiculous. And like, there's so many like things that you have to be like, okay, like, this is a, you know, post-apocalyptic like movie, whatever. Like, but if you can just see past all like and just be down for the ride, like, the soundtrack will pull you through and just like lose yourself in this movie, because it's fucking amazing. Like, it's so good. It's everything I love in this type of movie. Like, just so much ridiculous stuff where you're just like, did that happen? Did that just happen? Like, what? And then when you watch it a second time, like, you you see all these things that you didn't see before that you were like, oh shit. Like, so yeah, I mean, I'm definitely gonna watch it again. So I've got to stab it 10 times.
Hell yeah.
That is our first 10.
Whoa, what? Popped your
for
cherry
the
with my
show.
slick dick.
Oh man.
I'm so glad you watched this with us.
All right. Let's go over to Eric next. And Eric, how many times you gonna stab Radioactive Dreams?
I'm gonna stab it 9 times, right in its heart. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I liked it since we saw it in the theater. It's like B-movie, sci-fi, post-apocalyptic. It's a comedy. It's got a lot going on. I gotta check out this director's other stuff. So he's done Cyborg with Van Damme, that Captain America movie from the 90s.
Oh shit.
Sword and the Sorcerer. I mean, he's got a pretty big resume, impressive resume. And I do have to watch Vicious Lips, although I know it's probably not that great, but that's on my list as well. So the fact that I just want to deep dive into his other movies, I think means something to me anyway. Yeah, my only slight criticism is Marlowe got a little grating for me at times. He was a little much just for my taste, but soundtrack's amazing. Lots of cool action. Mutants are cool. It's fun. I would watch this every year. I really want a cleaned up Blu-ray. I think this would be amazing at a party. So 9 times for me.
Nice.
Let's go next.
Let's
Dan?
go over to Dan.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Dan, how many stabs you giving it?
Oh man, so I'm a little torn because I can't help but think back on the previous reviews that I did, and I think the highest rating I've ever given. Spoiler alert! I'm gonna give this so many stabs. Like, I think the highest stab that I've given was I stabbed Scream for Help 9 times, and I fucking adore that movie. And Jess, I think I'm gonna stab this movie 10 times.
Oh yeah!
I
Slick
think
dick
it's
party.
if this had the soundtrack of every other like 80s like Eric said, it's doing a lot of shit all at once. Like it's being a comedy, but it also has like kind of sexual trauma, and it has little kids cursing, and it has slapstick, and it does have violence. Like there's kids looking for their paternal figures, but then they just die. Like it's doing so much shit all at once, and it's all just so. The whole movie has this like streak of like lovable naivety to it, and I love it. And the soundtrack really. Like I said earlier, like if there's definitely that subgenre in the 80s, like early 80s, early 90s, where other movie production companies were trying to find a Star Wars like hit, and this feels like an attempt at making another Star Wars, and exactly like Star Wars. Star Wars would have been bullshit if it wasn't for John Williams' soundtrack to it. Like really, he's doing most of the work. Star Wars is kind of bullshit without that music. This movie would be nothing without Sue Sad and all the incredible synth score. Like I would stab this 9 times easily. I would stab this 9 times. But then, like, man, we have not stopped singing guilty pleasures to each other for like 8 years now, and that means something. Like that's nice. So yeah, I fucking love this movie. I'm gonna give this my first 10 as well. Fuck yeah, I loved Radioactive Dreams. Greg, how you feeling?
Oh man,
Sharpen up that
yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I picked this one this week because it's been a love. It's been a love of my life for a very long time.
Cry.
But I'm gonna go with 9 stabs.
Nice.
Because I do think it could have been a little bit more wild, a little bit more crazy, and I think we only get 1 boob in this whole movie. So it could have been. I didn't mention it while we were watching it. You do get it's just a slight passing boob during like a chase scene through the city.
You think we'd have more Dong with all those dicks on screen?
But yeah, I wanted the movie to be just like dialed up just 1 more notch to get that 10 because the potential was there because that city, like Edge City, was just crazy. I would have liked maybe a little bit more cannibalism stuff in it as well, not just hinted at kind of. Just like show me like a body feast. Like we had like some like people hanging up like pigs in the back of like a butcher shop at one point, but like let's see some people eating them. So that's why I'm only gonna take one off for that. So yeah, I'm gonna give it 9, which I also think is my highest. I think with even like Scream for Help, it was either 8 or 9, but yeah, this is one of the best movies ever made. And, Albert Pyun should be in like the Hollywood Hall of Fame if that's a thing. And,
I love how the ratings are like higher than like Cronenberg movies that we watched.
I think I gave Existence like a 6.
You know what? I respect Existence. I loved the time that I spent with this movie. Like, really, like I said, I got... Before we started recording, I told the story that I went to the bar with my wife, and we had a really nice night together, and then we came home and we watched Radioactive Dreams, and that, like, watch this movie a little drunk with a friend, and just have fun with it, and, oh, man, if the quality of the movie is the time you have with it, I had a fucking blast. And also, note to self, if Greg ever gives a movie a 10 out of 10, I guess it'll be banned in the UK. He is a very specific set of taste, and I respect that. I respect that. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
You need A Clockwork Orange with a synth soundtrack.
Greg's a gore hound.
I like what I like.
Hey, I'm not judging.
Yeah.
Hey, no.
All right.
You do you, Greg.
Thank you. I'm living my best life. Hashtag blessed. All right. Well, that was our ratings of Radioactive Dreams. I think it is a far and away. Go find this movie any way you can.
Somebody make a Blu-ray of it, please. Somebody make a Blu-ray.
There's ways to get this movie. Google around.
None of them legal. Go at it.
You can find a VHS. VHS rip is about all you can get. So I would love to pay $35 to $40. And honestly, if Vinegar Syndrome just put out 6 String Samurai on 4K, this could get a 4K restoration. Like,
nice.
100%. All right. So yeah, let's get closing down here. Jess, do you want to talk about your podcast as we sign off here?
Let us know where to find you.
A little bit again.
How people should look you up.
Yeah. Where can we find you? That's a much better way of saying it.
Sure. Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Apple to Oranges, .facebook or / whatever, however that works. You can just search us on Facebook. Our Gmail is appletoranges@gmail.com, and our Twitter is ATO Podcast. Oh, I think that's right. On Twitter, you can look me up, Big Green Monster, at gmail.com if you can't find us anywhere. I'm on Twitch and stuff like that, so you can take a look at stuff that I've done before. But yeah, I think that's pretty much... Facebook's the best way to get in contact with us. We post a lot about like what we're watching and what's going on. So if you have anything you want to say about Apple TV series, if you're watching them, if you're watching the movies, whatever it is, just send us a message or post us on Facebook, and we'll get back to you.
Nice. I want you to talk about that Werner Herzog Meteorite movie. I'm planning on watching that soon. I really want to watch
Oh, I've seen that. It's great.
Oh, that's what I hear.
Which movie is that?
I think it's called Fireball. Is that right, Eric?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
I'll have to check that out. I don't think a lot of the old stuff, like if it's stuff that's like already up, like we might watch it and then review it later, just like in like a blurb. Yeah, that's where you can find this.
It's really fun to have you on here, and I'm so glad that you got to enjoy such a fucking awesome movie with us. That's great.
Thank you so much for having me on. Like, this was so much fun. This was a blast. Like, I love this movie. Great choice, Greg. Like, you asked me to tell you how I felt about this choice, and obviously rated it 10 stabs. It's amazing. It was a great choice. So, it was so much fun. Thank you.
Guilty pleasures.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and everybody go check out Apple to Oranges on all your podcast of choices. And after you do that, swing on by Instagram and follow us on Stabby Pod. we post bullshit and what we're going to watch next. So, yeah, I guess hop on there Wednesday and we'll announce what we're talking about next because I don't know yet. And we'll find out.
Let's do it.
Yeah, well, thank you all for listening. We hope you had fun. Do your best to find this movie because it is, like I said, the best movie ever made. You will love it. Thank us later. Give us 5 stars.
You're welcome. Give us 5 stars and thank us for recommending this movie. You know what? Go to Apples and Oranges on like podcast catchers wherever they are, and give them 5 stars and thank them for Radioactive Dreams.
Yes, please. Yeah. If you do that, I'll shout you out on our podcast. So please.
Yeah, confuse the other hosts.
It's fine. They're fine.
All right, well, we're going to get out of here. And, as we say every week, don't forget to stab your friends. Thanks, everybody.
Friends.
Guilty pleasure.